Welcome to a little segment I like to call Bumps and Bends. Hey guys, welcome to another round of Bumps and Bends. This week we're at Interlagos, the moto track. And yeah, it's just been convenient that last week the standard F3 championship was here at Interlagos, but this is a different version of the track that has a little bump, or let's just say a big bump that is going to put a spanner in all your works. And this is the second practice session I've done. Today I did a extensive practice session, and then I spectated a race, and now I've just done a quick practice to get myself a time, and it's pretty respectable, to be honest, especially for a second lap. If we have a look at the world records, my other practice time was a 1:30.8. A second lap, a 1:30.4, is actually fourth best out of 400 people. So I'm pretty chuffed that I pulled this off, and I did that by watching the leader of the last race. He was super fast, super consistent, and we'll have a look at his rolling start in a second. Now, along with watching the leaders, you learn a lot by just jumping in the cockpit of the leaders. I also looked at Matt Malone's race that he put up the other day, and I was wondering why he changed gears so well. So what I've done is I've gone to the old auto blip. It was on anti-stall clutch, but I find auto blip does a lot smoother gearing up and gearing down, and I found my delta was just going green the whole time. So yeah, another little trick. One more trick is what a lot of guys are doing on the start finish line while they're gridding up. They're gridding up very early, and they're just keeping their foot floored. You use about 1.5 liters before you'll even begin your rolling start. So that's another thing you can do here. I don't do it because the noise of this car on the limiter gets annoying pretty quickly. So let's have a look at a 1:30.443. Let's do this. I wish I had a setup like this the other day. It's very loose, very understeery, but using the gearbox to pull that front end in through the corners really helps. That's all standard. Now I'm actually using fifth here now. It's slower on entry, but holding that fifth was a lot faster mid-corner, down to second, try and get out, back in tight, second, get out as early as possible. And also using first here, really pulls the front end in, short shift, and she's off and running. That's all been pretty standard Interlagos up until this point. Here comes something that is extremely blind. You can't see it. You just got to know exactly where it is. Very bumpy. You've just got to scoop it up, maintain the speed. If you lose too much speed, you lose a lot of time going over to the finish line. So that's a 1:30.4. Now let's have a look at the track in detail. Actually don't usually like this track, but after last week in the F3 and this week, seriously enjoying it. So it's all pretty standard issue. Braking after the 50 marker, down to third. And see, I'm just holding the brake a little bit just to keep the momentum on that front tire, which helps pull it in. And then second, which really pulls that front end in. You can actually see the yaw of the car pulling right in. And it's more about carrying less speed and getting on the throttle as early as possible and trying to straight line this whole center section here. can use quite a bit of curb, and it's just about just trying to be as full throttle for as long as possible to keep it pinned. It looks like there's a bit of sideways action there, not losing too much time. Just trying to keep that forward momentum going. And then it's all pretty much standard issue up to here. Traffic management in the first couple of laps is going to be seriously important, and I'll show you why qualifying is going to be really important this week in the Formula Sprint. So I'm looking at this section here as a braking reference, but not a braking marker. So the more practice you do, the more confident you'll be about braking further up the road. Down to third. And really try and hug it in and get on the throttle as early as possible without understeering over the curb and getting an X. You don't have to use all of that track. You really want to just pull it in to the left and minimize the length of the track. Up here, I'm going hard left. This was a little bit clumsy, but my delta came right down. I'm keeping it in fifth, where I was going down to fourth, and just flooring it in fifth. It's a much lower revs, but it just seems to grip. And then into fourth when you can see the exit, and use that power again. Here you can actually use quite a lot of circuit. A lot of people did this race last week, so you'll understand your track limits. But you can see here I'm way over the line there, and you won't get an X for it. I'm using the middle of the ripple strip is where the edge of the ripple strip is. So I'm just trying to keep the floor of the car just to the left of that. If you go too far to the right, you won't get an X, but it'll actually make the car unbalanced. You won't be able to get on the throttle as easily. Pump it, get on that throttle early, try and really go tight on here. Once again, you've got a ridge on the ripple strip, and it's kind of uphill there. So just keep your tyre within this section, but look for that perfect throttle position where you can just get right on it without wheel spin and without too much understeer towards this exit curb up here. And then I'm actually using this part of the circuit. It's probably bad habits because I'm actually making the track longer, but I really want a nice straight braking initially, and then focusing on this part of the corner. This corner comes in two stages, but the way the camber of the circuit goes right up, and really lean the left side of the car into the corner. You can see once again you've got this bowl effect. Just get the floor of the car in there, and I'm actually going down to first to really pull that front end in and give it a quick squirt in first and short shift to second. And you're not trying to go to this part of the circuit. You really want to shoot and hope for a nice narrow line. Yeah. So I'm not using any part of this circuit. I noticed that last week a lot of people were and trying to cut in, but you're really lengthening the circuit when you do that. Keep it nice and tight. Any wiggle of the steering wheel here will induce understeer and throw you out wide. So try and keep it as smooth as possible on the steering. Open it up when you can. So up to fifth and then down to third. You can use a lot more of this track. You can actually have I'm using the line as a reference, but you can actually use like over here. A bit of practice and you'll see how much you can use. The more you use, even though there's grass here within the little concrete mesh, you can actually take advantage of corner entry into this corner. So down to third, It will understeer, but you just want to get on the throttle as early as possible, up to fourth. Now we're going to hit the bumps here. This has lots of bumps. So there's a bump here, there's a bump here, here, and here. So it's just about knowing where the corner is. You have a look in, not on a blimp view, but in cockpit, you can't see it. So you just want to try and get left. A lot of it is hope for the best, but once you get into a groove, the leader was actually going down to third to pull himself in and keep that front end loaded for exit, but I found scooping it up in fourth, you have a better exit speed. The bump there, this bump here really unsettles it, this bump unsettles it, and this bump unsettles it. So it's just about trying to get through it, and then you're off to the finish line. It's a little bit longer, this bumps and bends, but that section is really important, and I'll show you why. This is how you do it wrong. We'll go to the following lap where I was getting a little bit cocky. And you're going to see a lot of this week. So I've actually hit the corner here a little bit wrong, and it just had a butterfly effect all the way through the corner. So I thought I hit it normally, but it really unsettled the car, lifted the car right off the ground, got both tyres off, and then it jolted to the left, it twisted to the right, and now it's just in a free spin, and there's pretty much no coming back from that. And this is why qualifying is so important. I'll show you a quick video of what I mean. So this is the race I spectated. So these two have actually spun. This guy's, you're thinking, oh, he's out of the woods. Then he got a big net code. I don't think they touched, but look at that. And then he got tyres flying everywhere. You don't want to not qualify this week. You're going to get caught up in this. This guy did all right. But then he's having to deal with carnage, tyres flying everywhere. Yeah, you don't want that. So one last thing that I'll show you guys is the rolling start that these guys did was really clean. This guy, Adrian, did really well. He stayed relatively close to the safety car. I mean relatively as in a lot of other people would actually brake after that moto chicane. So we can just see here, there's a safety car.
Follow the safety car in the left lane.
Nor Jim. Trying to get him off. So there goes the safety car, he pulls in, and as soon as he pulls in, Adrian takes off straight away. And I reckon the only reason that's so important is the slipstreaming effect and the length of the straight. You can get swamped. And traffic management here is going to be
floor it, green, green, green.
Really important as well. So this is Jim here, the other Jim. The only reason that Adrian got ahead was everyone hit the limiter, but then you go back through the pack a little bit. And we have the typical Interlagos games, and it was all relatively clean, but you see that 2x2, you just got to have trust in the guys around you. Being a 10-minute race, and it's only 7 laps, and yes, that's how important it is. So Adrian ended up with 1:30.4 in race, which is the lap that we've done in bumps and bends. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Down if you didn't. Make sure you subscribe and come check me out on Twitch. Good luck, and I'll see you on track. Bye.